Hey, hello there. Welcome to Talking with Tony. I am so pleased that football season is back. And while we still have to wait one more week for the NFL, we get in full swing with college football. And there's nobody better to have on the show than Danny Arp, our chief contributor for football. Danny, thank you so much. How are you tonight? And are you as excited as most people that football season is here?
I am absolutely ecstatic that football season is almost here. It means that our favorite parts of the year for most people are coming back. We've made it through the heat of summer. A lot of people get to enjoy that heat. Some people don't that actually work and get outside. And then you got football every weekend, and it's just amazing. I love it.
Talk two other things before we get to picking games. One was you had a brilliant pick for the Tour Championship in Tommy Fleetwood, and you were right on. You and Fred Blatchford are our chief golf contributors, and Tommy Fleetwood had had heartache after heartache after heartbreak after heartbreak, but yet you felt pretty strong in your convictions that he was going to win that golf tournament before the tournament started, by the way. And you got to give the guy credit. I mean, he came through when the pressure just got more and more, and there was different challengers. There was Scheffler, and there was Henley, and there was Cantley, but he stood tall and he grabbed that tour championship.
Look, I thought it was his moment. If you look at Tommy Fleetwood's career, I mean, one, he's just to look at. He's not your average golfer to look at, right? He's more fitted for, a foursome playing slow in front of me at the fields as opposed to being on the PGA Tour. But he's an exceptional player, great player on the European Tour. He's got I think he has 7 wins over in Europe. Never could do it here, and he's great with his Ryder Cup. Right, you remember his Ryder Cup in France, right? It was amazing. I mean, he carried that team to victory. So it's not like he hadn't had big moments, but he could not break through. I love seeing him getting down and getting tied back with Cantley. And I really like to be in Cantley because we all know he's a world class choker. I think all our wallets would tell you that. But the fact that he still he hung in there and he got the win was awesome, man. It was a good pick. I really felt like this was it. And I got a buddy of mine at work that went out to Atlanta, went out to East Lake to watch it. And I told him to go follow Fleetwood around. So now he's saying that, he helped us get the win, but whatever.
One other thing I want to talk to you about is you and I are both big fans of 80s on 8, and we listen to each week, the top 40 we listen to. I always hope for a year of 1980 or 81. There are other years I like too in the 80s, but I really like those when we were so young. And this past week was 1981, the top 40 of that week in 1981, late August. It's a great countdown, Danny, when Kim Carnes, Betty Davis Eyes is number 38, and that's a song that spent 9 weeks at number one song of the year and record of the year at the Grammys. But we could go on and on with that For Your Eyes Only, the theme from The Greatest American Hero, the Pointer Sisters appeared on this. I mean, this was a wonderful countdown. And if anybody has the Sirius XM app, you can still go back and listen to it right now. So you and I always go back and forth on this, and sometimes you send me playlist of the Stones and all. But I'll tell you this: I love the countdown this past week.
It's a good one. You and I, we do that. And you'll text me sometimes, hey, you listening here? And then maybe I didn't get in the car much that weekend, but I happened to be out a good bit riding around this weekend. Actually went down to Auburn for one night, and just had to drive right back. But it was a good countdown. And you got these certain years that are great, right? 81's good. 84 is always a great one, 87. But 81 takes you back to, I mean, we were just kids.
Yeah.
I remember my brother sitting around with his boom box, and he would just wait. He was a professional when he would record it. He would wait for the commercials, and then Casey Kasem would start back up, and he would start the recording again. But I will say Betty Davis Eyes didn't. It's
I
sort of
love
like
that song.
it's a great song, and I got where I couldn't listen to it for a while because I heard it so many times. But now you got to hear it all the way through. It's a good song. But
Oh,
81 has a great one. You had Lady by Kenny Rogers.
yeah, that was on that countdown.
I think
There
Endless
was a lot.
Love was on there.
There was a lot of country crossovers this past week. You know, the Ronnie Millsap was a which he has a great line in that "I'm the book you can't put down."
Yeah.
And John Schneider, who people know as Bo Duke, redid Elvis Presley's "It's Now or Never," and it made it to number 14 on the pop charts, but it made number 4 on the country charts. That was part of. There were a lot of crossovers back in those days, and I don't mind it. I think that was a cool thing.
It was cool. I mean, we got crossovers now. I mean, Beyonce won the Grammy of the Year for
Yeah, I didn't see
it's not
that
quite
coming.
it's not quite the same, as Kenny
Oh,
Rogers moving over into the pop charts, but still.
before I
But
get into
that
the
was
quotes.
I sort of make fun of that. I don't believe that's real crossover stuff. That's just some manipulative stuff.
I understood your
That
angle.
was real crossovers back in those days. I agree with
Oh
you.
yeah, for sure. Uh, Alabama was a fixture, you know, crossing over. But okay, so I have to get your angle on Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. They have officially become engaged.
If I had any advice for anybody now that this has happened, go to your nearest sports book and put everything you got on the Chiefs. I'm just gonna leave it at that. It's a
Yeah,
match made in heaven.
you know, I
I mean,
admire.
what are they doing anyway? I mean, what is he doing with her?
Well, he can't. He's stuck. He has to marry her because if he didn't, his life would be ruined by the Swifties. And he's got no choice. He's
She's like a
absolute
billionaire, and what is he?
a multimillionaire, but over
Okay, I
many
got you.
times.
It's a
But
big difference between what he's doing, the
yeah,
third
look,
best tight end in the NFL, and
I, well, I wouldn't characterize myself as a Swiftie, but I will say that I respect her I mean, her abilities. She terrifies. Anybody knows me knows I'm a conservative Republican, but she terrifies me with her influence over people. And she was like endorsing Joe Biden and Kamala and all
yeah,
this, and I was like, golly. Uh, But her ability, like at a concert, to perform, I mean, not only the dancing and the singing, but play the guitar,
yeah,
play the piano. She's written so many of those songs. I mean, like, my gosh, she is. And I used Anti-Hero in 6 weeks this summer. I used Destin and something else and Fall and Recover. And I use her in
yeah.
that Winter Wind, briefly too. I mean, she's a commodity. I mean, she is not going
Look,
anywhere. And she's rebranded herself. Like we thought of her as a country artist when she first came on the scene. But wow, I mean, I'm amazed at her ability.
look, I can recognize the talent, and I appreciate the talent she's got. And I'll listen to her songs. What was the one she had that was if you got daughters, when my daughters were leaving, there's one real sappy song she sings about never grow old, never grow old. That's one of her songs, right?
Okay.
That one always got me, sort of
Well,
hitting the heartstrings.
I'm gonna
And
out
it's a good
Jake
one. Everybody
Barton.
go listen to it.
I'm going to help Jake Barton here, but one of my favorites is a song called Style, which I played for you because I thought that it sounded sort of 80, reminded me of an 80-ish song. And Jake Barton can identify style at a restaurant. Like we were out eating Baumhauer's one night and he goes, "That's Taylor Swift playing right there." I was like, "There you go, Jake. You're on the money." I love, I'm big, Style is my favorite song, but I love that. You're on your own, kid. We are never getting back together again. Anti-Hero. I mean, there are a lot of songs of hers that I like, but I would put Style in my top 20 all-time favorite songs. I would put Style in there. And I would put Betty Davis Eyes that we just mentioned in the top 10 of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate both the songs, but neither one of those are making my top 20. But they're both
Okay.
good songs. And again, I do like it. I think it's, the whole media driven deal with her and Travis it was a little too much for me to stomach. It was a little much.
But
But
I do have two Stones songs in my top 20. As Tears Go
all
By,
right.
will not surprise you at all, and Under My Thumb.
Yeah, it's great songs right there.
They
Under My
are.
Thumb would be in my top 20. As tears go by, I still
And
like it.
you
It's not
know
my top 20.
this, but most people watching at home don't know that. What time frame are those songs from that I just named? They are both
The
from the
six,
same. That's exactly right. That's it. That's how much Under My Thumb holds up to this day. That song
Yeah,
came out in like 68 or 69 or so. And
yeah,
as tears go by was even before then.
yeah. I think it was 66 on As Tears Go By, and
It
I think it was
was.
the end of 67 on the UK album for Under My Thumb, and then they came over with their American album in
Gotcha.
68. Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, I agree. Let's
Now,
pick some games.
1981 countdown. I never heard anything off of Tattoo You though. Was there any Stone songs on the countdown? I didn't get to listen to it all the way through.
No,
They might
don't
all be
remember.
popular in the summer.
I remember
Could have been anything off Tattoo You.
The double Dutch bus was number 39. You remember the double Dutch bus?
That's awesome. That is
All
really
right.
good.
All right, let's pick some games. We want to welcome a new member to the panel. Fred Blatchford is a member, so that a little more of a Auburn taste in there. So you got Fred and I. John Perkinson's part of it again. He's the defending champion. Stormy Weathers is back. Kevin White's back, and as you know, Danny Art's back. So there's five members of the panel and myself. Just like in previous years, the panel will pick, 9, 10, 11 games a week or so. I'll pick a handful, four or five. So we'll begin with those Auburn Tigers. We'll begin on Friday night. There's two huge games of local interest. Auburn favored by 2.5 at Baylor.
All right. So oddly enough, Auburn going to Texas to open the season is unusual, right? I mean, Auburn's got, I don't even know, I can't even tell you how many it is. I'm sure you would know. But in the last 20 years, they probably got what, one other big road game to open the season up? It's not
Well,
many.
the huge win when Nix was a freshman and they beat Oregon, and that was in
Yeah.
Texas too. That was at Jerry's World.
Yeah. So maybe that was, yeah, I guess I'm not really talking about neutral field stuff, right? I mean, I'm talking about like actually going and playing because they're playing at Baylor, right?
That is correct. It's a road game.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a true road game. And then again, typical Texas. It's where it all started, with the high school games, Friday night lights. So, what better team than Auburn to represent a high school football team on Friday night? I'm just kidding. That was a joke. I know you added Fred just so I'd stop making Auburn jokes. Okay. And I think this is your year to stop getting, picked on by Georgia players. But, you know, I was joking. That was a bad joke. I'm sorry. I know you like Auburn, but year three of Hugh Freeze. I'm gonna give you that. Year three of Hugh Freeze. Most teams, they really start launching out in that third year and have a good year when they got a new coach. And I think you've seen good signs from Auburn over the last few years. Really, last year I thought it was closer than their record indicated to
Yeah.
being pretty good. You agree with that?
I think the coaching staff blew more games than the players did
Yeah,
last year.
yeah. And I think Hugh Freeze has got a quarterback now. He got
Jackson
Jackson
Arnold.
Arnold from Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I thought he played pretty good out there. I mean, he's got what it takes to make it happen. I think he's a good fit for it. And then they got a good old line coming back. If they can run the ball, I think it's going to be exceptional. And then Baylor with their, it's going to be a scoring fest, I do think. So any of y'all want to look at the over, that's not a bad pick. I know it's supposed to be some rain and weather, but I still think they're going to score pretty high. But I don't think that with the new coaches, they got but Baylor's got a couple of new defensive people on the side of the ball. Their offense is going to be explosive, but I don't think they can stop Auburn. I'm going to take Auburn -2.5 to
Okay.
open the
Go with,
season up and get the third year off to the right track. It's a
and I'll
big
say
deal.
that.
If they win this game, it's going to be a huge deal.
Yeah, big a momentum boost for sure. Freeze had a great opportunity to beat Georgia and Alabama in his first year. I think he needs to win at least one of those. He didn't get either one of those done. Surely didn't get them done in Athens or Tuscaloosa last year. So, but a big opening night win would give them momentum, victory on the road. We'll say the entire panel took Auburn except Stormy, who hates Auburn, but he took Baylor +2.5. He'll tell you that he likes Auburn, but he'll lie. Stormy will lie. So, but he's
Yeah,
got
he's
Baylor
full of
+2.5. Now, who he does love is Georgia Tech, and his five
yeah.
star is Georgia Tech. And Kevin White jumped on this pick as well late to
Huh.
to to, to smooth Stormy over. He sent a text. I want to smooth Stormy over. I want to. He's basically throwing him a little, whatever. So We're going to see how that works out. Tech favored by 4 at Colorado. Now, I can look down and cheat and see that you like Tech. Would you like to change your pick since both of those guys are on the Yellow Jackets?
As much as I would like to, because it hurt me to. I actually had somebody else circle that for me. I can't stand Tech. Um, but man, they got a pretty good team. I mean, I really think that Key has got them lined up. He's got a lot of great people coming back, right? And I wish Colorado would beat them. They let me down. They only the national championship in 1990, getting the co-champion with Georgia
Yeah,
Tech. Colorado let me down. So we got a little matchup of the co-1990 national champs here. But
that's true.
I just think, it's been a bad offseason for Dion, man. I mean, he lost his two star players. His son, obviously, the Heisman Trophy winner. He's been sick. I can appreciate what he did out there, but I just don't know, man, because that Haynes King is a nuisance. He is a gnat. I think he's going to have a big day. I think it's going to be Tech by more than that 4. It's going to be Tech pretty easy, to be honest with you.
The entire panel has Georgia Tech except for Fred and goes with Colorado
I'll be
plus
agree.
4.
All right.
And Stormy and Kevin, that's their 5 stars. Saturday's action is my first pick. It's Texas at Ohio State. People are always like, well, who do you like to win the national championship? And Danny, here's the deal. Last 2 years, I've given people Michigan and I've given people Ohio State before the season started. I've been right both times, and I've gotten backlash on my Facebook on the only social media I use, or either through private messages. The SEC's better. The SEC's going to win. Michigan ain't going to be there. Ohio State's certainly not going to be there. I have nothing else to do, because you can be right, but those people are not going to come back and say, "Oh man, you were right." Like I heard it from all these Alabama and Georgia people last year, like Ohio State's not going to win the national championship. But when they did I hear from any of them? I heard from like one of them. That's the that's the thing. So I'm not even going to say on Facebook that I'm leaning towards like a Penn State or a Texas right now to win the national championship. I'm not going to pick anything. I'm just not going to put it out there. But the Buckeyes do open their season at the Shoe. This game should have been on Sunday night, but Texas would not move it. Fox, when Ohio State complained about yet another 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern kickoff, Fox, the network, said, okay, well, we'll play Sunday night, but Texas has to agree to move it. And they're like, no, we're not giving Ohio State the nighttime atmosphere. Forget about that. Ohio State's going to have a good football team. I think they'll be in the college football playoff. I do not like them Saturday. I think they've lost too many pieces and they've lost too many high character guys. When you lose people like Travion Henderson and Emeka Ibuka, not only great football players, but high character players. Same thing can be said about JT Tulamulu, Jack Sawyer, Cody Simon. I could go on and on and on. And this team has lost 15 starters. I like Texas's defensive front. I don't know what Manning's going to do. I think it's an upgrade from what they've had in the past. But Texas is my pick to win the SEC. And if I'm picking them to win the SEC, then I'm certainly believing they're capable of winning the national championship and they're capable of going in to Columbus and winning. I like Texas plus 2 as my first pick.
It's a great pick. Great analysis on it, too. I think, one, I think you should put it out there because who cares what they think? You've been right 2 years in a row. You're always right more than not. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Now, I've always talked on this show about Ryan, Ryan Day, how I feel about him, great coach. I was with you last year, right? I mean, you had to
Yeah.
I agree with you that Ohio State was definitely made believers out of me in that midnight miracle we pulled on them. But, I've also compared him to Mark Richt. And I think that he unlike Mark Richt, was able to get through. And I hate to say it, but I'm glad he got his national championship last year. He was able to buzz through. I think 2012 was Rick's year. He was loaded, just like Ohio State was last year. He was loaded in 2012. Didn't make it. Cut short by Bama, in the old playoff system we used to have. And I think that's sort of Ryan Day's deal, man. 2013 was a good year, up and down for Georgia. They lost so much that year going in. I just think you're right about that. I think Ohio State's just lost too much. And I think if it weren't a big team, a big playoff like we have now, they wouldn't even make playoffs. If it was old school, he'd be just like Rick. I think he's going to have a couple of key losses, and I think this is going to be one of them. I don't think they can keep up with it. And then again, they got the new. He lost both his coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's got a lot of work to do. And he brought in a pro guy. Just, I mean, same story as Rick. He brought in that old pro Schottenheimer as our coordinator in 2013. It was the most atrocious thing I'd ever watched.
And Dave brought in Patricia, but
Yeah,
Jim
Patricia.
Knowles, who
And I
went to
just,
Penn
he's the
State.
old Patriots guy. He did great up there, but I don't
Yeah.
think pro translate to college. Now, guess what? Maybe it will now that we're basically professional players paying them all. But,
That is true.
right now, I don't feel it. I'm going Texas. I'm taking the two.
Everybody agreed with you except for John. He's the only Ohio State person
Ooh.
to take Ohio State pick. And I will say this, and I'll give myself credit here too. I had a perfect college football playoff bracket last year, and that took some guts to take Ohio State, Notre Dame. They were the seven in the they were the two back seeds in the especially Ohio State, Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Both of them had to play the extra game. They had to open, like Ohio State played against Tennessee and Notre Dame played against Indiana. But yeah, but we'll see. New
Yeah.
season. I think they'll make the college football playoff, but I think you're right. It's a good thing 12, a total of 12 teams make it. I have got a pick in this next game, Alabama by 14 over Florida State, and I am the only one that has the Seminoles plus 14. Everybody else has Alabama minus 14. If it wasn't the first game of the year, I might not be on Florida State as well. And I'm also aware that Gus Malzahn's the offense coordinator, and that he could mess things up. Just that's 14 points right there that he could screw up. But I think first game of the year might catch Alabama not firing on all cylinders, though they've been impressive in situations like this over the years against the Michigans and the Southern Cals and the Virginia Techs and the Clemsons and these opening games. I just happen to think Florida State's gonna be up for this game and play competitively. You like Alabama though?
Yeah, I do like Alabama. And again, just for nonetheless that it's Alabama. I just feel like even with I just think that this is the first time they got a chance now. We're going into year two with a new coach over there. And if he's going to make a move, it's now. He definitely had a great recruiting series. He's got the athletes to play. And it's going to be big. I'm interested to see what happens. I honestly hope I'm wrong. I mean, I hope FSU makes a game out of it, but I think it's going to be pretty quick. I think
Marquee
that first
game.
half's going to tell it.
That's a marquee game. Another marquee game is LSU at Clemson. Clemson favored by 3.5. Danny, you're the only person. I'm not picking this game, but as far as the panel goes, you're the only person that likes LSU plus 3.5. Tell us about this.
Well, again, I just don't. I don't get. I get that you got to go to Death Valley, play, get the whole atmosphere, and Clemson is a big time atmosphere to have to play in. But I think the team that's coming is more used to that environment than just any your average person coming in. And I think Kelly's been dang killing it. And I think that LSU is going to, they're going to be able to outscore them. I don't know that it's going to be a defensive struggle. It seems like Clemson in their opening games are always dialed in on defense. Maybe that's a Dabo thing. I don't know. But they got low scoring games. Those opening games are always tight, head knockers, ready to play. There's no doubt he'll have them ready to play. But I just feel like in the long run, the speed and the defensive front for LSU is going to shut them down just enough. And I'm taking LSU
Two
and the
outstanding
3.5
quarterbacks in
points.
this game, Danny. Klubnik from Clemson is a Heisman Trophy threat for sure. Garrett, I believe it's Newsmeyer. Is that how you say his last name for LSU?
Newsmeyer, yeah.
There's also Harold Perkins Jr., a tremendous defensive player for LSU, who was out virtually the whole season last year. Kind of eager to see the LSU defense and see what they do, see if they can create some turnovers. Interesting pick though with LSU, and nice analysis about that team's been in tough environments, tough settings before. This isn't like Marshall going to play at
So you
Clemson.
didn't have a pick in that one?
I did not have a pick in
Okay.
that one. I do have a pick in this next one though. Arizona is my pick. Arizona favored by 16 and a half against Hawaii. It is my 5 star. As I look on the sheet, everybody has Arizona but Stormy and Kevin. So you're with me on this. Arizona was a big letdown last year, coming off Jet Fish left. And he left the program was just going in the right direction when he left. They'd beat Oklahoma in the Alamo Bowl, and he took 11 or 12 players with him. He took some recruits with him. The Arizona quarterback is back, and I think overall they're back. They've lost some studs. A couple of those studs went to Washington this year. They had like even more players go to Washington. They stayed for Arizona one more year, and they left, including Takario Davis on that in that defensive backfield. So but I like Arizona to beat Hawaii. Hawaii didn't move me emotionally against Stanford.
No, I agree with you. I know you and I were sort of texting back and forth again in the Stanford game. I mean, I know you said you were on Stanford to start with, and I thought you had it there for a second. They just gave it away as usual. But it didn't like to me, it doesn't like Hawaii fought for it, on their own field to grab the victory. They weren't impressive. Uh, and I do think that, traveling up here, they've already got one game under their belt, so maybe the first game jitters are out. But I think by the time we get to the second quarter, it's going to be some high-powered offense out of that Arizona team, and I think they cover it. Probably 21-point win. What do you think? Something like that?
I see it. A name to remember is Luke Wysong, transfer from New Mexico, wide receiver. The kid's a gamer. Now, he's not T-Mac, who went the first round of the NFL draft that played at Arizona last year, but this kid is a gamer. Utah favored by 6.5 at UCLA with Nico quarterback in UCLA. How do you see this one, Art?
Look, I went ahead and jumped right on that on UCLA and those points, man. I mean, this quarterback was supposed to be something, wasn't he? I mean,
Hmm.
uh, he wasn't a good fit in the last place he was at. But one thing we know, they didn't name it West Coast style offense for nothing. You know what I'm saying? And he can sling it around. I think maybe they got a chance here to take him and capitalize on I mean, let's just face it, the negative press he got last year and turn it around for him. So I like
All
it.
right. Fred goes with Utah as his first ever five-star pick here on Talking with Tony as a member of the panel. If you don't have your fix of great college football on this opening weekend, Saturday, on Sunday, there's a couple intriguing matchups. First at 3 o'clock Eastern Time, South Carolina with big time expectations this year for Coach Beamer. South Carolina hosts Virginia Tech. South Carolina favored by 7.5. I'll let Danny reveal his pick. It is his five-star pick, and I will tell him that everybody is on the same side from the panel with him. I'm not making a pick there, but as far as the five members of the panel, they all agree with you. Who you like in the game, Danny?
Now that I don't like. I don't like that everybody's on the same page, especially SEC hater Stormy. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I did go. We're going into the year 5 of the Beamer stint in South Carolina, and man, he's been exciting, right? He's had some
Yeah.
great games throughout the whole time, not just last year. Last year was a great season. There's a lot of great moments, just haven't been able to put it together. And I do feel like that he has got himself a quarterback now that you mentioned Heisman candidate earlier. Lenore Sellers is going to be a Heisman candidate if he can continue to perform the way he did last year. No doubt. He's in a high profile conference. And, if he can light this conference up and then get the W more so than what they did last year, it's really going to propel him into that Heisman contention. I do think that, I love William Bryce Stadium. I
Williams
think it's
Bryce.
going to be absolutely out of control. If you've ever been to a game there, it doesn't matter if they're 1-9 or undefeated, having some great seasons with Spurrier. It's going to be crazy, and I don't think that even with the new revamped system they brought in, they used the portal to their advantage at Virginia Tech. I mean, they really brought in everybody, or at least as best they could to fill their holes, and it's still not going to work. I'm taking the Gamecocks -7.5.
Okay. Nobody has played more Sunday night games the night before Labor Day than Notre Dame. They have been featured against Florida State a couple of different times. They played at Texas a few years ago. It was a great contest. This time they're playing in a place that they just could not win with their great teams of the 80s and the 90s, and they just came up short when they would go down and have to play in the Orange Bowl against the Miami Hurricanes. Now, one of the ugliest games ever was when Jimmy Johnson was there and Notre Dame was already firing Jerry Faust, and it was the Friday, it was the day after Thanksgiving. And they beat Notre Dame that day like 50 something to 7. I mean, it was ugly. I would love to see Notre Dame go in there and get revenge and this be the Irish team that pulls it off. Once again, the entire panel exclude me. I'm not picking the game, but the entire panel went with the Fighting Irish minus 2.5. Was it just needing to win by 3, Danny, or is it anti Carson Beck? Tell me what it was.
I knew you'd come up with that. No, I think it is a little anti-Carson Beck. I mean, I do think two things. Number one, I still have not recovered. I can't believe Notre Dame beat my dogs last year. I really cannot believe it. I mean, it's just,
Despite the fact that I picked him on my bracket, you
I
still
know.
can't.
And again, like I said, you should put it out there because you're mostly right. But I mean, I should have listened to you and not got my hopes up. But and then they played a great game. They played a pretty good game in the
They were
national
more
championship game.
physical than Georgia was, and I don't
Yes,
believe most people thought that would be the case.
I didn't think Freeman could do that, but he's got himself a pretty good squad and really is playing good defense. That's always been my knock on them, right? Is you could, if somebody really got going, they couldn't stop and put the plug in the hole, as you say, and stop the water. They would just get blown out. And they don't do that anymore. They go a touchdown down, 10 down. It's okay. And they didn't really trail much at all last year, but he's still bringing back a lot of people. And I think he's going to go down here to Miami. And if Carson Beck's, this is going to prove if Miami just starts dropping passes left and right, go ahead and say it was Carson Beck against Georgia because I feel like the way he throws the ball leads to drops. And we're about to see if I'm accurate or not on that assessment when he starts quarterbacking for Miami because he just doesn't have a good release. His ball nosedives, and I don't think Miami's going to be able to execute when they need it.
But Notre Dame will have yet another new quarterback. They brought in the Wake Forest quarterback a couple of years, Sam, and he was, a great quarterback. And they went with Riley Leonard last year and led them to the national championship game. This year it's the grandson of a national champion coach himself in C.J. Carr, the grandson of Lloyd Carr, the Michigan coach who won a national championship. So if anybody should be able to take on a hostile environment, the pressure, I would think that it would be somebody who came up in a football kind of family. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, so he shouldn't be rattled. And let's be honest, like Miami, Florida, it's just not the same.
no,
Where they play now is not the Orange Bowl. And Miami people, if this game was away, Miami would take like 1,000 fans. There would
yeah.
be no factor at all. They don't have the fan support, and that it's just not the hostile environment anymore.
Well, much like the world largest outdoor cocktail party, you're not supposed to say anymore. This game used to have a nice nickname as well. We're not going to say it here on the show, but you know, it's not that anymore. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
No,
it's going to
no, you're.
be. This is nowhere near the physical kind of team Miami used to put out on the field in the times you're talking about, and they be before the rules of targeting, decapitating people, basically.
And if you're still in dire need, you need one more football game. Monday night, Labor Day night, we welcome Bill Belichick to college football at home against TCU. Now, look, I pretty much am a student of college football, so I can tell you the Tar Heels have played on Labor Day night before. They went up to Pittsburgh. They faced Dan Marino in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was ranked number one in the country. I don't know if it was September of 82 or
It
83.
had to be 82, man.
82. It was 82.
That's what I was
It
sitting here
was,
thinking. I was like, that was 82.
and I can tell you the score was seven. It's either 7-3 or 7-6. I think it was 7-3 Pittsburgh. North Carolina played a great game, especially defensively. But Pittsburgh won, and they played at Three Rivers Stadium. I remember that as well. And they kicked off at 9 o'clock at night. This kicks off a whole hour earlier for folks that have got to go to work. But yeah, that was a classic. I don't know if this will be a classic. TCU's favored by 3.5. I will say that I have a pick here. I'm going with TCU minus 3.5. John and Kevin are on North Carolina. You join me with TCU. Belichick's back, or Belichick's in college football. Hey, this is great, but I don't know about like is the focus the Carolinas players focus on TCU, or is there just too much focus right now on Belichick?
I mean, it's got to be too much focus on Belichick. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. I don't know. I don't even see why you would make that hire. I mean, I get his history, and there's no doubt he's a coach. But I mean, nobody's going to reinvent the magic that Nick Saban did. Coaching as long as he did. You got certain people. You got the Bear Bryants of the world, the Landrys. The Nick Sabans. That's Belichick is there, but he's not crossing over to college. I mean, I think that's just crazy, and that's not really why I made the pick. That was just my commentary on Bill Belichick. But I don't know.
Well, you're on with me with TCU. I will
Yeah,
say this. I'll get you to it's a little unfair for you tonight to pick a national champion, but I'm going to get you to like pick a national champion. It could be Georgia. I expect them to be in the college football playoff. I believe Ole Miss is a team that is being overlooked, and they've lost a lot of people. But as I look at their schedule, they could lose in Athens 47-7 and still make the college football playoff with a victory over LSU and a victory against A&M. And, I think Kiffin's a great coach. I'll go back to that Notre Dame Georgia game just for a moment. In January 2nd, I think it was, it may have been January 1st of 1981 when Georgia beat Notre Dame 17-10, really giving Dooley the title. Notre Dame outplayed Georgia that day, but they committed way too many turnovers. Committed like 4 turnovers, were intercepted in the end zone. They missed 3 field goals. But there was a play in that game that I've talked to you about before. It was 3-3. Georgia kicked off to Notre Dame. Notre Dame's up 2 up and never found the football. They lost it in the lights, and Georgia went down and covered it at the 2 yard line. Last year's Georgia Notre Dame game in that same building, New Orleans, Sugar Bowl, was sort of like payback for the Irish. At the end of the first half, they came up with a turnover. I'm talking, in a span of 20 seconds of game clock, Notre Dame put up 14 points. They came up with it. Georgia should have just went to the half happy instead. They turned the ball over. Notre Dame threw a pass for a touchdown, and then they ran the kickoff back for a touchdown. Talk about exercising some demons and all. So it's kind of like, a reversal of fortune, if you will,
yeah.
from that 1980 season, early 1981. This could be Georgia then could come up with something. There is a kid playing for Georgia this year, transferring from Southern Cal. People have asked me who I like for the Heisman. In a way, I like Cade Klubnik for Clemson, but there is a kid who's 250-1 odds right now, Zachariah Branch, that played at
Branch.
Southern Cal. And you want to talk about a kickoff guy and a
Yeah.
punt return guy, and they'll mix him in he's going to be in that rotation for the wide receivers and all. If they put the ball in his hands, wait and see the plays that he makes. Nobody will remember any touchdown Notre Dame ran back for a kickoff because I think this kid will return numerous. He'd be like Tim Brown back there or Rocket Ismail, Desmond
Yeah.
Howard. He's that elusive. He's that fast.
Look, Georgia's never had that kind of player that what you just named, Rocket and all those guys. But they've had some pretty close ones, right? You got AJ Green used to be really great. You had
Mhm.
think about some of the people we had. Reggie Brown used to be fantastic punt returner. He ran a few back for us. Isaiah McKenzie, the human joystick, and even those guys, they're nowhere near the speed of Branch. And if he can just catch the ball, and I do think Gunnar Stockton throws a nice catchable pass, he's going to have a big season, and he could be in contention with all the, not just his receiving yards, but to your point, all the extra stuff that they're going to have him doing for the Dogs. But to answer your question, of course, my heart says Georgia's going to win it. I mean, I got my T-shirt on now. It says them Dogs is hell. I mean, I just know that. But I don't know. I think I mentioned to you same way. I'm on the Ole Miss kick, man. I mean, Lane's been kicking on the door for a while.
Yeah.
And I think he's set up with, to your point, he could survive a loss. Hell, he might even survive two if he could backdoor his way in and win the SEC championship. And I think if he can get in the playoffs, he can make a run because he is something that a lot of coaches hadn't played up against. So if he can get out and play a few people, he could go deep until he gets back in up against some SEC teams in that playoff. So I like Ole Miss as a wild card. And then if I just got to say it, I'm going to say Georgia's going to win it because I think it's stacked.
I'm I'm leaning towards a team that Georgia beat twice last year to win the SEC, Texas. I'm leaning towards Penn State to win the Big Ten. If like as kind of mentioned earlier, I kind of teased it. If I like them to win their conferences, I certainly believe they have a chance to win the
Yeah.
national championship. So if I had two choices right now, I would go with Texas and Penn State. I'd love for it to be the Buckeyes. I just don't see it. I need to run down the picks, and then I'll close it here with ARP. Let's start with English Premier League soccer. I'm going to give three picks out. I'm going to start with the Tottenham Hotspurs. I'm going to go with the Spurs minus a half against AFC Bournemouth. Then I'm going to go with Nottingham Forest minus a half. They had a huge year last year, and they just missed advancing to the Champions League, but they're minus a half against West Ham. And then on Sunday, I'll go with the Arsenal plus a half against the defending champions, Liverpool. Liverpool with an exciting win over Newcastle United yesterday. So those are three English Premier picks: Tottenham Hotspurs, Nottingham Forest, and the Arsenal with the Arsenal plus a half. Let's run down Fred, our newest member of the panel's picks. He likes Auburn minus 2.5 in their season opener at Baylor. He goes with Colorado plus 4. He's the only member of the panel to take Colorado. On Saturday, he likes the Texas Longhorns plus 2 against the defending national champions. That sounds nice to say about defending
It
national
does.
champions. Alabama is favored by 14, and Fred likes them against Florida State. He likes Clemson minus 3.5, Arizona minus 16.5. His five-star, the Utah Utes minus 6.5 against UCLA. On Sunday, Fred likes South Carolina minus 7.5, and he likes Notre Dame minus 2.5. On Monday night, Labor Day night, he goes with TCU minus 3.5 against North Carolina in Chapel Hill. We'll run down my four picks. I like Texas plus 2 against those Buckeyes on Saturday. I like Florida State plus 14 against Alabama. I was the only one to go with Florida State. My five-star will be Arizona minus 16.5 against Hawaii. Some people say that's a bad pick because Hawaii has a game underneath them. It's probably worked out some kinks. That could be. But if you've ever traveled to Hawaii, Danny Arp has, it's not easy getting there. So it's not easy getting out of there also. It's quite a long flight. And I'll go with TCU minus 3.5 right there with Fred. Let's go to John Perkison and his picks. He likes Auburn minus 2.5. He's on the Yellow Jackets minus 4. He is the only person to take the defending national champs, Ohio State minus 2. He agrees with everyone but me, Alabama minus 14. His five-star is the Clemson Tigers playing in Death Valley minus 3.5. He likes Arizona minus 16.5. In the late game Saturday night, he likes Utah minus 6.5. There's a lot of favorites here. South Carolina minus 7.5 on Sunday afternoon. He sticks with the favorites, Notre Dame minus 2.5 Sunday night. And on Monday night, he goes with his only underdog. He goes with North Carolina plus 3.5. Stormy likes Baylor plus 2.5. He's the only, of course, like Danny says, he's anti-SEC. He's anti-Auburn as well. But his five-star is the Yellow Jackets. He goes with his heart there, and he has huge expectations for those Yellow Jackets this year. He likes Texas plus 2, Alabama minus 14, Clemson minus 3.5. He likes those Rainbows of Hawaii plus 16.5. UCLA plus 6.5. Jake, you got to find that UCLA Bear I love so much there at plus 6.5. He is going to go with South Carolina minus 7.5, Notre Dame minus 2.5, and TCU minus 3.5. Kevin's picks: Auburn minus 2.5. Georgia Tech is his five-star minus 4. He goes with Texas plus 2, Alabama minus 14, Clemson minus 3.5, Hawaii plus 16.5, UCLA plus 6.5, South Carolina minus 7.5, Notre Dame minus 2.5, and North Carolina plus 3.5. And Danny, who was with us tonight on the show, he likes Auburn minus 2.5, Georgia Tech minus 4, Texas plus 2, Alabama minus 14. He likes LSU going to Death Valley. He was the only one to take LSU plus 3.5. He goes with Arizona minus 16.5, UCLA plus 6.5. His five stars, the South Carolina Gamecocks minus 7.5. And he closes it with two favorites in the primetime games Sunday and Monday night. He's got Notre Dame minus 2.5 and TCU minus 3.5. And there you have it. The whole panel's picks. I hope you have a great Labor Day weekend and enjoy all this wonderful college football. For Danny Arp and for Jake Barton, I'm Tony Jones. We'll see you next time right here on Talking with Tony.